All right, so I see a bottle here and I see a rim at the top. It's foreshortening quite a lot. So I see it dropping. There's actually in the photograph that I'm drawing from a 3-point perspective. So what I'm seeing is that the top of the bottle is opening up here, and the shoulders of the bottle are happening like right about here, and the foot of the bottle, I would say, let me just measure it. Seems to be about the same from here to here as it is to the foot. So the foot of the bottle is happening right here. But instead of getting a straight line down, which I know the bottle has, well, no, the bottle is actually a little bit smaller at the foot, but I'm getting an exaggeration of that because of a 3-point perspective. So I'm actually going to draw these lines in at a bit of a, I can measure them, of course, right? What am I actually seeing? 1 or 2 minutes before the hour on either side. So I'm still drawing sort of lightly with my charcoal pencil. This goes in this way and then out that way. So I probably should have another ellipse here because it changes shape. That's our rule, right? I think my top's looking wonky because I didn't stay on my center line. So I'm going to fix that. Give myself some horizontal guidelines. Repair my ellipses where they feel like they're tilting or going a little bit wrong. That's got to be in there, I think. I'm seeing an ellipse down here, and then I'm seeing a warping of that ellipse coming up here. So I'm still just abstracting. I'm looking for shapes in my bottle. Trying to get some nice ellipses in a drawing here that feels like it's got some good structure to it. I think I'm ready though because I have a nice setup here. I've got something that's got some construction lines, that's got some structure to it, that sort of sets that all up. Maybe I want to draw in the shadow on the table a little bit. Let's go back to that and say the shadow of the table goes up. But this part here is quite dark. And then I've got a dark ring happening right here. And I've got a darkness down here at the bottom. I've got a darkness on this side here, and I've got a little darkness at the shoulder there. I've definitely got some darkness on the ring here and here. I'm going to get my pencil again because these are very thin lines. But now that I've drawn with my stub a little bit, I've got these dirty fingers, and these are the best drawing tools I've got. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say it's sort of shadowy here. And I'm just going to take this finger and I'm going to polish the bottle as if I were actually rubbing the bottle itself where I see a little darkness. When that stops rubbing off, I take my charcoal stub and I rub my finger on it until my finger gets nice and dirty again. And I can go up here and I can paint. So now I'm thinking in gray, right? I'm just looking at areas where it's a little bit less pronounced. Now, if I get too much down and I want to take it back off, I have my kneaded eraser, right? So I can go into there where I put the gray and I can lighten that gray up by tapping or dragging through it. Smooth and even it out if I want. Part of the reason that I do glass in toned paper is because everything is relative, right? So I don't have anything to work back on. How am I going to get a highlight unless I have a light that's a tone, right? And so some of these things that I'm seeing that are merely gray, I'm going actually down to black. And that's a good thing that I took my pencil and I said, well, this is going to be really black down here on the table because I have a wider value range to work with in there, right? I can leave areas lighter, but I want to actually tone this table a bit. I would probably take this whole glass and just brush it down like this and rub it. So I haven't actually toned the entire page. I haven't dragged this thing down across the entire paper, but I've got a little bit of smudginess and fudginess in here, and that gives me a second chance. I've gone back to general each time I smudge over it, right? I might even say that back along the table, there's a difference between the table and the wall, and I just want to draw a little bit of that in by smudging a little material along here. Just ever so slightly. We're getting into nuance now, right? Now I can come in here on the shoulder of this bottle where I see some highlight. And if I draw with my eraser there, I can actually see a highlight. I can come in here where I see the light on the edge of this guy here. But I notice that it's not really showing up. And especially if I step back and walk across the room from this, you know, I've got to get a lot more darkness in here before anything is going to read like a sparkle. So the values of your drawing are relative. The only way that you're going to get a bright spot is to have, in general, a dark drawing. So you're going to keep working these things down. If you don't want to tone your paper, you've at least got to tone the areas where you see some gray so that you can pull back an area of light up out of that. And now I'm into the very specifics of what that does. It seems to go really hard edge here, the light, and very soft edge out here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to draw this light with my kneaded eraser so that I get a soft ambient light out here. And a very hard edge where this light comes from the upper right and really collects down there on the table. Harden up some edges where I see hard edges and smudge and soften over areas where I don't. Come in with a little dark where I see a little dark and then smudge those out so that I don't have lines. I just have areas of light and shadow. Again, when I see a very thin line, if my eraser won't draw that line, then I erase a thicker line and then I draw up to it with the black, or I smudge back over it with the gray. until I have the kind of shape that I want. There's just no way that I can get the sparkle up here on the rim without going darker on my page. So it could be that I want that to be a focal point and then I'm going to make a really dark drawing. Could be that I give that up and I say, all right, well, that sparkle's just not going to read for me because I don't have anything dark up there. If I take this and tone the edge of this and say my table is going to come down to a 5 or a 6, then I'm going to take this and I'm going to go blacker in here so that this becomes even darker in these kind of shadows and these kind of areas. Because by comparison back here now, I've got something going on. It's arguing if the light shadow in the rest of the drawing. But this makes it so I can draw in something like this in here. I actually want to move that and make this bigger. This has got to be a little bit bigger. Then when I start carving back into my light spec here, you're going to see some edge to that. And then I can come along here and pop up a little bit of light. Where I sees it. I'm breaking my rule of doing as little as possible and drawing all of this in here now because I'm bringing the entire drawing down to a darker mode. I had all of my lights in the 1, 2, 3 range. When I toned the paper, I'm bringing them down into the 4, 5, 6 range, right? Which means that my shadows have to go into the 7, 8, 9. Still haven't really got many spots in here that I would say are a 10. They're as dark and as velvety black as I could go. But again, it's just pushing down the darks and pulling up the lights, back and forth and back and forth. With that kind of thing until you get something that you like. It's starting to work. I could go on with it. It's certainly not finished, but in terms of a demo, that's got you started.